President John Carter stood at the window of his room on Kepler Prime Station. The view showed stars and ships from dozens of different alien worlds. He had been dreaming of this moment for years. Earth was finally part of the galactic community. "Mr. President, it's time," said his aide, Mary Johnson. She looked nervous. This was her first trip to an alien space station too. John straightened his tie and walked to the door. Today he would speak to the Galactic Council. He would tell them about humanity's hopes and dreams for the future. Earth had so much to offer. The galaxy, the corridor was full of strange beings. Tall, thin Zephyrians walked on long legs. Their skin was blue, and they had 4 arms. The insect-like hive collective clicked and buzzed as they moved in perfect formation. Crystal beings from the Shard Confederacy glowed with inner light. "Stay close," John whispered to Mary. Some of the aliens stared at them with what looked like unfriendly eyes. The council chamber was huge. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in curved rows that rose up like a theater. At the center was a speaking platform. John felt small as he walked to it. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Council," John began. His voice echoed in the vast space. "I come before you today not as a stranger, but as a friend. Earth wishes to join your community of worlds." He spoke about human achievements, about their art, their science, their desire to explore and learn. He talked about the colonies they had built and the trade routes they wanted to establish. Some aliens nodded in approval. Others whispered among themselves. John noticed that the Zephyrian ambassador, Veltar, watched him with cold eyes. After his speech, John was invited to a diplomatic dinner. The great dining hall was decorated with flowers and crystals from a dozen worlds. Long tables held food from across the galaxy. "A fine speech," said Ambassador Veltar as he approached. His voice was smooth, but somehow threatening. "Though some of us wonder if humans understand their place in the established order. We seek only friendship and cooperation," John replied carefully. "Of course," Veltar smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Please try our traditional wine. It is a great honor we extend to few species." The Zephyrian wine was dark purple and smelled of exotic spices. John hesitated. His security team had warned him about accepting food and drink from aliens, but refusing would be a terrible insult. "To friendship between our peoples," John said, raising the glass. He drank half the wine in one swallow. It tasted bitter with a strange metallic aftertaste. Within minutes, John felt dizzy. "I don't feel well," he said to Mary. "Sir, you look pale," she said with worry. John's vision blurred. The room seemed to spin around him. He tried to stand, but his legs gave out. Mary caught him as he fell. "Help! Someone help!" Mary screamed. Alien doctors rushed to John's side. They scanned him with strange devices, while Mary held his hand. The readings made them shake their heads. "Zephyrian neurotoxin," one doctor said. "Very rare, very deadly. Can you save him?" Mary asked. "We will try." Meanwhile, far from Kepler, Prime, Admiral Lisa Hayes was aboard the battleship Phoenix. She was reviewing reports from human colonies when her communication officer spoke up. "Admiral, urgent message from Kepler Prime. It's about the President." Lisa's blood ran cold as she read the message. John Carter was dying, poisoned by aliens who claimed to want peace. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," she ordered. Now, the hours that followed were the longest of John's life. The alien doctors worked hard to save him. They used every treatment they knew, but the poison was too strong. "I'm sorry," John whispered to Mary as his strength faded. Tell them not to let this stop humanity's dream." "You're going to be fine, sir," Mary said, tears running down her face. But John knew better. He could feel the poison burning through his body. His heart was slowing down. His breathing became shallow. The aliens. They don't understand us, he said weakly. They think we'll run away. They think we'll be afraid. Sir, save your strength. There. Wrong, Mary. We don't run. We never run. Those were President John Carter's last words. The leader of humanity died far from home, surrounded by aliens who had failed to save him. The news spread quickly through the human delegation, then to Earth, and to every human colony in the galaxy. The president was dead, murdered by those who claimed to want peace. Ambassador Veltar expressed deep regret. He said it was a terrible accident. His people had no idea that humans were allergic to their wine, but his eyes showed no real sadness. Other alien leaders also gave their condolences. They expected humanity to mourn quietly and continue diplomatic talks. After all, that's what civilized species did when faced with tragedy. But they didn't understand humans at all. On Earth, Vice President Daniel Brooks was sworn in as the new president. His first act was to recall all human ambassadors from alien worlds. His second was to call Admiral Hayes. Lisa, they killed him, Daniel said over the secure channel. They murdered John in cold blood. I know, sir. My people are analyzing the evidence. What do you recommend? Admiral Hayes looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens thought they had won. They thought humans would accept this murder and bow down. Sir, I recommend we show them what humans do to those who harm our family. President Brooks nodded slowly. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something in humanity that had been sleeping since the old wars on Earth. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human vengeance was about to begin. President Daniel Brooks sat in the Oval Office staring at photos of John Carter. His friend was dead, murdered by aliens who thought humans were weak. Mr. President, said his chief of staff, the alien ambassadors are demanding meetings. They want to discuss compensation for the accident? Daniel laughed bitterly. Accident? They think we're that stupid? Secretary of Defense Patricia Moore entered the room. Her face was grim. Sir, we have a problem. The colony ship New Denver was destroyed 6 hours ago. All 50,000 colonists are dead. How? Daniel asked. Pirates, according to the survivors from the escort ships. But the weapons used were Zephyrian design, military grade. Daniel felt his anger growing. And our mining station on Titan's Edge? Silent for 12 hours. Last message reported unknown alien ships approaching. Secretary of State Robert Allen hurried in. Sir, you can't be thinking of military action. We're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The smart thing is to negotiate. Negotiate? Daniel stood up. They killed our president. They're killing our people. What exactly should we negotiate? Peace, sir. A way to move forward. Patricia Moore shook her head. Robert, they're not interested in peace. This is genocide. They want to wipe us out before we become a threat. On the other side of the galaxy, Detective Captain Jake Sullivan was examining the crime scene where President Carter died. The alien authorities had been unhelpful. They claimed there was no evidence of murder. Jake's partner, Detective Lisa Park, found something interesting. Jake, look at this. Security footage from the kitchen. The video showed a Zephyrian cook adding something to the wine bottle. Something that wasn't supposed to be there. Got him, Jake said. Now let's see who else was involved. They spent days following the trail. The cook had been paid by a Hive Collective trader. The trader had been hired by a Shard Confederacy merchant. The merchant had been contacted by Ambassador Veltar himself. It's a conspiracy, Lisa said. All 3 species worked together. But why? Jake asked. The answer came from intercepted communications. The 3 alien species had been planning this for months. They saw humanity's rapid expansion as a threat to their control of trade routes. They thought killing the president would make humans retreat back to Earth. Admiral Hayes received Jake's report while her fleet was gathering near Mars. She read it twice to make sure she understood. They planned this, she told General Kevin Wright. It wasn't about the president personally. They want to destroy humanity before we get too strong. What do we do about it? Kevin asked. We show them what happens when you threaten human survival. Back on Earth, the news was getting worse. The human colony on Beta Centauri reported attacks by unknown ships. A trading post at Wolf 359 went dark. Human merchant vessels were being destroyed across the galaxy. It's coordinated, Patricia Moore told the emergency cabinet meeting. They're trying to drive us back to Earth. We should comply, Robert. Allen said. Cut our losses and focus on defending our home system. Daniel Brooks had heard enough. No, we don't run. We never run. Sir, be reasonable. We can't fight the entire galaxy. We're not fighting the entire galaxy. We're fighting 3 species who think we're cowards. Admiral Hayes joined the meeting by video link. Mr. President, I've been studying alien military tactics. They haven't fought a real war in centuries. Their strategy is based on intimidation and economic pressure. What are you saying? Daniel asked. I'm saying they don't know how to fight. They're used to species that surrender when faced with superior numbers. Dr. Lara Kim, Earth's top alien technology expert, had been studying captured alien weapons. Sir, I've found something important. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, not kinetic projectiles. Explain, Daniel said. They've been at peace so long, they forgot about simple bullets and missiles. Their technology is impressive, but it's not built for actual combat. General Wright smiled grimly. So they're not as tough as they look. Not even close, Dr. Kim replied. Their ships are beautiful and fast, but they're not armored for real fighting. A single human destroyer could probably take on 3 of their cruisers. Captain Chris Baker had been leading secret missions to alien worlds. He returned to Earth with disturbing news. Sir, their military bases are a joke. No real security. No battle-ready troops. They've been playing soldier for so long, they forgot what real soldiers look like. What about their numbers? Daniel asked. Impressive on paper. But they're spread across hundreds of worlds. They can't concentrate their forces quickly. And their command structure is based on committee decisions, not military hierarchy. Patricia Moore pulled up a star chart. Mr. President, they think they're hunting sheep. They have no idea they're about to face wolves. The room fell silent as everyone understood what she meant. How long do we need to prepare? Daniel asked Admiral. Hayes consulted her notes. 6 months for full mobilization. We're converting civilian ships to military use. Every shipyard in the solar system is working around the clock. And our people? Angry, sir, really angry. The president's death, the colony ships, the mining stations. People are volunteering faster than we can process them. Daniel nodded. Humanity was awakening. The peaceful species that had joined the galactic community 2 years ago was gone. In its place was something the aliens had never seen before. Gentlemen, ladies, Daniel said, we're going to war. Not for conquest or glory, but for survival. They started this fight thinking we were weak. Let's show them what human strength really looks like. Outside, the shipyards of Luna were blazing with activity. Thousands of workers labored day and night, building the largest fleet in human history. The ships were ugly compared to alien vessels, but they were built for one purpose: war. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the construction. Soon, very soon, humanity would have its revenge. The aliens had made a fatal mistake. They had killed a human leader and thought his people would bow down in fear. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping since the ancient wars of Earth. They had awakened this warrior spirit of humanity, and that spirit was hungry for justice. 6 months after President Carter's death, humanity was ready for war. The transformation had been incredible. Earth's peaceful civilization had become a military machine focused on one goal: revenge. President Brooks stood before the United Nations General Assembly. Representatives from every nation on Earth were present. The cameras were broadcasting to every human colony in the galaxy. "My fellow humans," Daniel began, "we stand at a crossroads. The aliens who killed President Carter think we will accept their murder and retreat to Earth. They believe we are weak. They are wrong." The assembly erupted in applause. Outside, crowds had gathered in every major city. From New York to Tokyo, from London to Sydney, humanity was united in anger. The assassination of John Carter was not an accident. It was an act of war. The destruction of our colony ships was not piracy. It was genocide. The attack on our mining stations was not random. It was planned extermination. Daniel's voice grew stronger. "Today, I declare that Earth will not bow down. Humanity will not run. We will fight for our right to exist among the stars." The crowd roared its approval. In the shipyards of Luna, workers cheered and worked even harder. On Mars, the military academies graduated classes of new officers every week. Admiral Hayes watched the speech from the bridge of her new flagship, the Vengeance. The ship was massive, bigger than anything humanity had ever built. Its hull was thick armor plating. Its weapons were designed to punch through alien shields. "Admiral," said her aide, Captain Tom Wilson, "the fleet is ready. 300 ships. Of the line, 500 destroyers and 1,000 support vessels." "Good. How are our new weapons?" Dr. Kin's research had paid off. Human engineers had developed kinetic weapons that could penetrate alien energy shields, railguns that fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds, missile systems that could overwhelm, alien point defenses. "Testing is complete," Tom reported. "The aliens won't know what hit them." General Wright was training the largest army in human history. On Earth, Mars, and Luna, millions of soldiers prepared for ground combat. They studied alien biology, learned to fight in different gravities, and practiced with weapons designed to kill specific alien species. "The aliens have never seen real infantry," Wright told his staff. "They use automated systems and remote drones. They don't understand close combat. The training was brutal. Soldiers learned to fight in spacesuits, in alien atmospheres, in zero gravity. They practiced boarding actions on mock alien ships. They studied urban warfare for fighting in alien cities. Captain Baker had been running special operations missions for months. His teams had infiltrated alien worlds, gathering intelligence and sabotaging military installations. "Sir, their security is laughable," Baker reported to Admiral Hayes. "They have no concept of guerrilla warfare. Their bases are designed for parades, not defense." "What about their fleets?" "Scattered. They're so confident in their superiority. They don't maintain battle formations. Most of their ships are on patrol duties or trade missions." Dr. Kim had been busy in her laboratory. She had developed new types of ammunition, new explosives, and new tactics for fighting alien biology. "The Zephyrians have 4 hearts," she explained to a group of Marine officers. "Hit them here, here, and here for maximum effect. The Hive Collective shares a group mind. Disrupt their communication nodes, and they become confused." "What about the Shard Confederacy?" asked a lieutenant. "Crystal beings. They're tough, but brittle. High-frequency sound waves can shatter their bodies. We've developed sonic weapons specifically for them." The industrial might of humanity was impressive. Factories that once made cars now made tanks. Shipyards that built cruise ships now built destroyers. Every resource was focused on the war effort. President Brooks visited the construction sites regularly. He saw the massive guns being installed on battleships. He watched as fighter squadrons practiced combat maneuvers. He met with the families of soldiers preparing to deploy. "Why are we doing this?" asked a young Marine's mother. "Why can't we just negotiate?" "Because they don't want to negotiate," Daniel replied. "They want us dead, all of us, every human in the galaxy." The woman nodded grimly. "And you do what you have to do." That attitude was common across humanity. The aliens had made a terrible miscalculation. They thought killing one leader would make humans afraid. Instead, it had made them angry. Really angry. Captain Susan Walsh was commander of the heavy cruiser Retribution. She was studying tactical plans when her communications officer spoke up. "Captain, message from Admiral Hayes. The operation begins in 72 hours. Susan nodded. For months, they had been preparing. Now it was time to strike back. The plan was simple but devastating. Human fleets would attack 12 major alien military bases simultaneously. The aliens would be caught completely off guard. They had no idea that humans were capable of such coordinated action. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes," came the broadcast. "In 3 days, we begin Operation Payback. Remember why we're doing this. Remember President Carter. Remember our dead colonists. Remember that we are human, and humans protect their own." Across the fleet, soldiers and sailors prepared for battle. They cleaned their weapons, checked their equipment, and said prayers for the living and the dead. The aliens were about to learn something important about humanity. Humans were peaceful by choice, not by nature. When pushed too far, they became the most dangerous species in the galaxy. On Kepler Prime, Ambassador Veltar was meeting with his allies. The Hive Collective Queen's representative clicked nervously. The Shard Confederacy delegate glowed with worry. "The humans have been quiet for months," Veltar said. "Perhaps they have accepted their place." "I hope so," clicked the Hive representative. "My scouts report increased activity in human space, but nothing threatening. Probably just internal reorganization," the Shard delegate said. "Humans are emotional creatures. They need time to process grief." Veltar nodded. "Soon we will offer them a new treaty. Limited to their home system, of course. They will accept because they have no choice." None of them suspected that human special forces had been listening to their conversations for weeks. Captain Baker's teams had planted listening devices throughout the station. Every word had been transmitted back to Earth. The aliens were still congratulating themselves on their clever plan when the human fleet began moving. Admiral Hayes led the main force toward the Zephyrian home system. Other fleets headed for Hive. Collective Worlds, the largest fleet of all, was bound for the Shard Confederacy's capital. Remember, Admiral Hayes told her captains, "We're not conquerors. We're justice. These aliens started a war they thought we couldn't finish. Let's prove them wrong." The time for talk was over. The time for preparation had ended. Now came the time for war. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy why Earth had once been covered in the ruins of ancient battles. Some species were born for peace. Others were born for war. The aliens were about to discover which category humans belonged to. The first phase of Operation Payback was about to begin. The war began at exactly 0600 hours, Earth Standard Time. Across 12 star systems, human fleets dropped out of hyperspace near major alien military bases. The aliens had no warning. They had no time to prepare. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Vengeance as her fleet emerged near the Zephyrian fortress world of Kalos Prime. The alien base was huge, surrounded by defense platforms and protected by a fleet of 200 ships. "Sir, the aliens are hailing us," reported Communications Officer Jane Mitchell. "Put them through," Hayes ordered. The face of a Zephyrian admiral appeared on screen. His 4 eyes showed confusion and worry. "Human vessels, you are in violation of galactic law. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." "Admiral Kethvar," Hayes replied calmly. "I am Lisa Hayes of the Terran Defense Force. You and your people murdered President Carter. You destroyed our colony ships. You killed our civilians. Consider this your consequence." She cut the transmission and turned to her weapons officer. "All ships commence firing." The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Railgun projectiles tore through alien shields like they were paper. Missile volleys overwhelmed point defense systems. The aliens had never seen such brutal, efficient warfare. The Battle of Kalos Prime lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the alien fortress was in ruins. 2/3 of the Zephyrian fleet was destroyed. The survivors fled in panic. "Admiral," reported Captain Wilson, "we lost 12 ships." "The aliens lost over 100. Hayes nodded grimly. "Send a message to all human forces. Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2. At the same time, similar battles were raging across the galaxy. The Hive collective base at Nexus 7 came under attack from General Wright's assault fleet, the Insectoid. Aliens tried to coordinate their defense, but human sonic weapons disrupted their communication network. "Sir, they're like lost children without their group mind," reported Colonel Bill Carter, the president's nephew. "They can't function as individuals." "Then let's keep them confused," Wright replied. "All units maintain sonic bombardment." The Hive collective warriors were fierce fighters individually, but without their mental connection, they couldn't work together. Human Marines stormed their bases with brutal efficiency. The Shard Confederacy fared no better. Their crystal ships were beautiful, but fragile. Human plasma weapons designed by Dr. Kim shattered their hulls with ease. Captain Susan Walsh led the attack on the Shard capital world of Prism. Her heavy cruiser Retribution fired continuously at the alien defense platforms. "Captain," called her tactical officer, "the alien flagship is trying to escape." "Not today," Susan replied. "All power to engines. Ramming speed." "Ma'am, that's suicide." "Maybe, but they killed our president. Some things are worth dying for." The Retribution accelerated toward the fleeing Shard vessel. Susan's ship was already damaged, her shields failing. But she didn't care. The alien ship was 3 times larger, but it was trying to run. "This is for President Carter," Susan shouted as her ship struck the alien vessel. Both ships exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The blast was seen across the star system. Human forces everywhere received the message. Their captain had died rather than let the enemy escape. The news of Susan's sacrifice spread through the human fleet like wildfire. Soldiers and sailors who had already been fighting hard now fought with desperate fury. The aliens had never seen anything like it. "They're insane," screamed a Zephyrian officer as human Marines boarded his ship. "They fight like demons." The human boarding party was led by Sergeant Mike Johnson. His team moved through the alien ship with deadly precision. They had trained for this moment for months. "Remember your training," Mike told his men. 4 hearts, 4 chances to kill them. Don't waste shots." The Zephyrians were taller and stronger than humans, but they had never faced soldiers trained in close combat. Human martial arts, developed over centuries of warfare, proved devastatingly effective. Back at Kepler Prime, the massive space station where President Carter had died, the longest battle of the war was beginning. Admiral Hayes had sent a special task force to capture the station intact. The battle for Kepler Prime was personal. Every human in the fleet remembered their president dying in those corridors. They wanted justice, and they wanted it badly. "Captain, Chris Baker led the assault teams. His special forces had studied the station's layout for months. They knew every corridor, every room, every hiding place. Teams Alpha through Delta, take the command center, Baker ordered. Teams Echo through Hotel, secure the diplomatic quarters. I want the room where the president died. The fighting was brutal. Aliens and humans battled room by room through the massive station. The aliens had superior numbers, but the humans had superior motivation. They're not fighting for territory, observed a Hive Collective warrior. They're fighting for revenge. I have never seen such hatred. The alien was right. Human forces showed no mercy to anyone who had been involved in the president's death. They were methodical, efficient, and completely ruthless. Dr. Kim's research proved invaluable. Human weapons designed specifically for alien biology were devastatingly effective. Sonic disruptors broke up Hive Collective coordination. Plasma charges shattered Shard Confederacy crystal bodies. Kinetic weapons punched through Zephyrian armor. Sir, reported a communications officer to Admiral Hayes, we're getting surrender requests from 17 alien worlds. Ignore them, Hayes replied. We don't negotiate with murderers. The alien alliance was falling apart. Each species blamed the others for the disaster. The Shard Confederacy tried to make a separate peace. The Hive Collective offered to surrender unconditionally. The Zephyrians proposed negotiations. President Brooks rejected all offers. They started this war by killing John Carter. They escalated it by attacking our colonies. They can end it by surrendering completely. The fighting continued for 3 months. Human forces showed no sign of slowing down. If anything, they were getting stronger as reinforcements arrived from Earth. The aliens finally understood their mistake. They had thought humans were just another peaceful species. They had been wrong. Humans were peaceful by choice, not by nature. When that choice was taken away, they became something terrifying. We have awakened something that should have stayed sleeping, Ambassador Valtar said to his remaining allies. The humans are not like other species. They do not know when to quit. What do we do? Asked the Hive Queen's representative. We pray they show us mercy, Valtar replied. Because we showed them none. The siege of Kepler Prime finally ended when Captain Baker's forces reached the diplomatic dining hall. The room where President Carter had drunk poisoned wine was now occupied by human Marines. Sir, reported one of Baker's sergeants, we found Ambassador Valtar. He's barricaded in his quarters. Bring him to me, Baker ordered. When Valtar was dragged before him, the alien looked nothing like the confident diplomat who had poisoned the president. His blue skin was pale with fear. His forearms shook with terror. You killed our president, Baker said quietly. You murdered an innocent man who came here seeking peace. It was necessary, Valtar said weakly. Humans were becoming too powerful, too dangerous. You thought we were dangerous before? Baker smiled grimly. You haven't seen anything yet. The war was far from over, but the first phase was complete. The aliens had learned that humans were not the weak species they had believed. They were something much more dangerous. They were a species that never forgot and never forgave. 18 months after the assassination of President Carter, the war was ending. The 3 alien species that had conspired to murder humanity's leader were broken and defeated. Their fleets were scattered. Their worlds were occupied. Their leaders were in hiding. Admiral Hayes stood in the command center of Kepler Prime Station, now under human control. The same room where President Carter had been poisoned was now the headquarters of the Terran Defense Force. Admiral, reported Captain Wilson, the Hive Collective Queen has officially surrendered. She's offering to submit to human authority in exchange for the survival of her people. What about the Shard Confederacy? Still trying to flee to the Outer Rim. Admiral Parker is pursuing them with the 5th Fleet. Hayes nodded. The crystal beings had been the first to try to abandon their allies. They thought they could escape to the edge of the galaxy and hide. They were wrong. And the Zephyrians? Ambassador Veltar is making a final stand at their home world. He's gathered what's left of their fleet. The irony wasn't lost on Hayes. The alien who had started this war would also end it. She had been hunting Veltar for over a year. Soon she would have her revenge. President Brooks was in the Oval Office when the news arrived. Secretary of Defense Patricia Moore burst in without knocking. "Sir, it's over. The Hive Collective has surrendered unconditionally." Daniel looked up from the reports he was reading. Casualty lists, damage assessments. The cost of war was always high, but the cost of doing nothing would have been higher. How many did we lose? 40,000 dead. Twice that many wounded. But, sir, we saved humanity. If we hadn't fought, they would have exterminated us completely. Daniel nodded. Every human death was a tragedy. But President Carter's death had shown what would happen if humanity didn't fight back. The aliens had planned genocide. War was the only answer. What about the trials? War crimes tribunals are being set up on Earth. We have evidence against hundreds of alien leaders. They'll face justice for what they did. In the Zephyrian home system, the final battle was about to begin. Admiral Hayes led the largest human fleet ever assembled. 300 ships surrounded the alien home world. Veltar waited with the remnants of his people's fleet. Only 50 ships remained of the once mighty Zephyrian navy. But he was determined to fight to the end. "Human fleet," Veltar broadcast, "you have won your war. But you will not take our home world without a fight." Hayes opened a channel to all ships. "This is Admiral Hayes to all human forces. The alien before us murdered President Carter. He destroyed our colony ships. He killed our families. Today, we end this. The battle was fierce, but brief. The Zephyrians fought with desperate courage, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Human weapons technology had advanced during the war. Alien defenses that had once seemed impenetrable were now obsolete. Captain Tony Martinez led a squadron of fighters in the final assault. His target was Veltar's flagship, a massive vessel that had been the pride of the Zephyrian fleet. "This is for President Carter." Tony shouted as he aimed his fighter at the alien command ship. His small craft was damaged, leaking atmosphere. He could have ejected and been rescued. Instead, he chose to ram the alien vessel. The explosion destroyed both ships and killed the alien who had started the war. "Veltar is dead," reported Captain Wilson. "The Zephyrian fleet is surrendering." "Admiral." Hayes felt no joy in victory. Too many good people had died. But justice had been served. With the defeat of the Zephyrians, the war was truly over. The 3 alien species that had conspired against humanity were broken. Their military forces were destroyed. Their leaders were dead or captured, but the consequences of the war went far beyond the 3 conspirators. The entire galaxy had watched. As humanity transformed from peaceful explorers into efficient warriors, other alien species took note. "The humans are not what we thought," said the representative of the Altarian Republic. "They seemed so peaceful when they first joined us." "They were peaceful," replied the ambassador from the Reprisal Federation, "until someone threatened their survival. Then they became something else entirely." The war had changed humanity too. The species that had once dreamed of peaceful exploration among the stars had become the galaxy's dominant military power. Earth's fleets patrolled space lanes once controlled by others. President Brooks established the Terran hegemony with Earth as its capital. The new government included representatives from alien species that had remained neutral during the war. But humanity held ultimate authority. "We don't seek to conquer," Brooks announced to the galaxy. "We seek to protect," Any species that threatens human civilians will face the full might of Earth's military. The message was clear. Humanity would not start wars, but they would finish them. Admiral Hayes became the first High Admiral of the Galactic Fleet. Her job was to maintain peace and protect human interests throughout known space. She established naval bases in key systems and built a fleet larger than any seen before. "We're not bullies," she told her officers. "We're guardians. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, and we ensure that what happened to President Carter never happens again." The war crimes trials began 6 months after the fighting ended. Hundreds of alien leaders faced justice for their roles in the conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. Communications intercepts, financial records, and testimony from survivors painted a clear picture of planned genocide. Veltar was dead, but his subordinates faced trial. The Hive Collective Queen was sentenced to life imprisonment. Shard Confederacy. Leaders received various punishments based on their level of involvement. "Justice is not revenge," proclaimed the chief judge, a human named Sandra Williams. "But justice must be served. The galaxy must know that the murder of innocent people has consequences." The trials were broadcast across the galaxy. Every species watched as the conspirators faced judgment for their crimes. The message was clear. Humanity would not tolerate genocide. Dr. Kim had become the galaxy's leading expert on alien technology. Her research during the war had advanced human science by decades. Now she worked on peaceful applications, developing new medical treatments and exploration technologies. "We learned so much during the war," she told a gathering of scientists. "Now we can use that knowledge to help people instead of harm them." Captain Baker, now General Baker, established the Galactic Security Force. His special operations teams worked to prevent future conspiracies against peaceful species. They were the eyes and ears of the Terran hegemony. We watch, we listen. The protect became their motto. The galaxy was a different place now. Trade routes that had been controlled by the 3 conspirator species were now open to all. Smaller alien civilizations that had been bullied for centuries were now protected by human fleets. "The humans saved us," said the representative of the Tau Ceti colonies. "The Zephyrians had been demanding tribute for decades. Now we're free." Similar stories came from across the galaxy. The war that had started with an assassination had ended with liberation for dozens of oppressed worlds. 5 years after President Carter's death, a memorial was built on Earth. It stood in Washington, where the president had lived and worked. Representatives from across the galaxy attended the dedication ceremony. President Brooks, now older and wiser, spoke to the assembled crowd. John Carter dreamed of peace among the stars. He believed that different species could work together for the common good. His dream lives on, protected by the strength of those who refuse to let evil triumph. Admiral Hayes, now retired but still influential, stood with the president. She remembered the young leader who had died so far from home. His death had changed everything. He would be proud, she said quietly. Humanity has become what he always believed we could be. Strong enough to protect the innocent, wise enough to show mercy to the defeated. The memorial was simple but powerful. A statue of President Carter with one hand extended in friendship, the other holding a document representing humanity's commitment to peace. Around the base were the names of every human who had died in the war that followed. Children from across the galaxy left flowers at the memorial. Human children, alien children, all learning the same lesson. Peace is precious, but it must be defended. The Terran hegemony had become the most powerful force in the galaxy, but it was not a tyranny. Alien species that accepted human leadership were treated as equals. Those that chose independence were left alone, as long as they didn't threaten others. We rule by example, not by force, President Brooks explained to his successor. We show the galaxy what civilization looks like. The 3 conspirator species had been reduced, but not destroyed. The Hive Collective had learned to function as individuals. The Shard Confederacy had rebuilt their shattered civilization. Even the Zephyrians, under new leadership, had been allowed to join the galactic community again. Redemption is possible, Admiral Hayes had argued when some called for complete destruction of the enemy species. But it must be earned. The former enemies were now closely watched, but given the chance to prove they had changed. Some did. Others remained bitter and resentful. But none dared to challenge humanity's dominance again. Not as the years passed, the galaxy settled into a new order. Human ships patrolled the space lanes. Human colonies spread to hundreds of worlds. Human culture influenced alien civilizations across the S.